As a prepper, delving into historical events like the War of 1812 is not only fascinating, but also provides valuable lessons in preparedness and resilience. The War of 1812, often referred to as America's Second War for Independence, was a conflict between the United States and Great Britain. Lasting from June 18, 1812 to February 18, 1815, it had far-reaching consequences for both nations involved. At the outset of the 19th century, Great Britain was locked in a long and bitter conflict with Napoleon Bonaparte's France. In an attempt to cut off supplies from reaching the enemy, both sides attempted to block the United States from trading with the other. In 1807, Britain passed the Orders in Council, which required neutral countries to obtain a license from its authorities before trading with France or French colonies. The Royal Navy also outraged Americans by its practice of impressment, or removing sailors from U.S. merchant vessels and forcing them to serve on behalf of the British. In 1809, Congress repealed Jefferson's Embargo Act, replaced by the Non-Intercourse Act targeting trade with Britain and France. The ineffective measure led to a May 1810 bill offering to resume trade with one if the other lifted restrictions on the United States. After Napoleon hinted he would stop restrictions, President James Madison blocked all trade with Britain that November. Meanwhile, new members of Congress elected that year, led by Henry Clay and John C. Calhoun, had begun to agitate for war, based on their indignation over British violations of maritime rights, as well as Britain's encouragement of Native American hostility against American westward expansion. As the War of 1812 unfolded, America's westward expansion clashed with indigenous territories, prompting many Native Americans, led by figures like Tecumseh, to side with the British. As tensions over trade restrictions and impressment continues, the conflict pitched the naval power of England against its former colony, exacerbated by American resentment towards British policies and the forced enlistment of American sailors into the Royal Navy. In June, President James Madison declared war on Britain, marking the beginning of the War of 1812. For Native peoples facing territorial encroachment, the conflict represented a crucial opportunity for external support and a pivotal moment in their quest for sovereignty. After war was declared, the Shawnee chief Tecumseh quickly joined the fight. Born in frontier territory in the Ohio Valley, Tecumseh had long held an open grudge against American military forces, who had killed both his father, Pocashinwa, in 1774, and years later, his older brother and mentor, Cheeseekau. As a teenager, Tecumseh joined his tribe's war chief, Blue Jacket, to fight the U.S. Army. Tecumseh founded Prophetstown, an indigenous village in present-day Indiana, centered on traditional Native values and lifeways, hoping to unite indigenous people against the invading white settlers. The Shawnee chief organized a multi-tribal alliance across the Ohio Valley. All his passionate recruitment served Tecumseh well. On August 16, 1812, he and his Indian army joined British forces led by Sir Isaac Brock to deal a morale-crushing loss to the U.S. Army in their siege of Fort Detroit. The victory gave the British and their indigenous allies firm control of the territory around the Great Lakes and pushed the frontier border back eastward, at least for a time. Then, the United States launched offensives into Canada, hoping to seize territory and pressure Britain into negotiating favorable terms. However, these campaigns largely ended in failure, with American forces suffering defeats at the Battle of Queenston Heights and the Battle of Frenchtown. In 1813, the focus of the war shifted to naval engagements on the Great Lakes and along the Atlantic coast. The United States achieved notable victories, such as the capture of HMS Guerriere by the USS Constitution and the Battle of Lake Erie, where the American Navy, under Commodore Oliver Hazard Perry, defeated the British fleet. The year 1814 saw a dramatic turn in the war, with the British shifting their focus to the American mainland. British forces captured Washington, D.C., and set fire to the White House and other government buildings in retaliation for the earlier burning of York, modern-day Toronto, by American forces. However, the tide of the war turned decisively in favor of the United States with the stunning victory at the Battle of Baltimore, where American forces successfully defended Fort McHenry against a British naval bombardment. This battle inspired Francis Scott Key to write the poem The Star-Spangled Banner, which later became the national anthem of the United States. In late 1814, peace negotiations began in Ghent, Belgium, ultimately resulting in the signing of the Treaty of Ghent on December 24, 1814. The treaty restored the pre-war status quo, with no territorial gains for either side. Despite the treaty being signed, news traveled slowly, and the war continued into early 1815. The final major engagement of the war was the Battle of New Orleans, where American forces under General Andrew Jackson achieved a stunning victory over a British invasion force, even though the war had officially ended. The War of 1812 had significant consequences for both the United States and Great Britain. It solidified America's independence and demonstrated its ability to defend itself against a major world power. For Britain, it marked the end of hostilities with its former colony and forced a re-evaluation of its policies towards the United States and its other colonies. From a prepper's perspective, the War of 1812 underscores the importance of self-sufficiency and preparedness in times of conflict. It serves as a reminder of the need for individuals and communities to be resilient and self-reliant, capable of sustaining themselves even in times of crisis. Until next time, stay prepared and stay safe. And thanks for watching.